Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a pretty wild journey from the early days of the internet, where websites were, well, basically just static digital brochures, all the way to the living, breathing, interactive applications we use every single day.
I mean, have you ever stopped to wonder how websites actually remember who you are? Or how your shopping cart updates instantly? Or how a social media feed is customized perfectly for you? Well, let's dive into this because the answer usually lies in a kind of magical server-side engine called PHP.
So, what exactly is it? PHP stands for Hypertext Processor. It's a massively popular open-source scripting language, and unlike HTML, which just sits there statically in your browser, PHP scripts execute completely invisibly on the web server. It processes information, builds the page dynamically on the fly, and then sends the result back to your browser as plain, clean HTML. It's basically the behind-the-scenes director for the web.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with the dynamic web engine, move into variables, logic, and loops, check out organizing data and functions, look at managing server files, and finally bring the whole shebang together by connecting to MySQL databases.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the Dynamic Web Engine. This is where we lay the foundation for the code that actually brings a server to life.
You know what's truly brilliant about PHP is just how simple it is to get started. Look at this, it's the absolute simplest script. Notice how all the code sits neatly between those opening and closing PHP tags? The server knows to only process what's inside. And here's the absolutely crucial point. Every single statement must strictly end with a semicolon. If you forget that semicolon, PHP will definitely let you know by completely breaking your page.
Now, to actually get that text to pop up on your screen, PHP gives us two main tools. We've got echo and print. Honestly, they do almost the exact same thing, but echo is marginally faster. We're talking microseconds here, and it's far more commonly used because it doesn't have a return value, and you can actually throw multiple parameters at it all at once.
Okay, moving right along to Section 2, Variables, Logic, and Loops. It's time to talk about memory and decisions and see how PHP handles all that.
Think of variables as your digital storage containers. In PHP, they always start with a $sign. And what's wonderfully efficient here is that you don't even have to officially declare their data type beforehand. The container is created the exact moment you assign a value to it, whether you're storing a string of text, like hello world, or an integer value, like the number 5.
But you gotta remember, PHP is very strict about where those containers can be opened. This comes down to local versus global scope. A variable declared outside of a function is global, while one declared inside is local. PHP strictly walls off this data depending on where you declare it. It's actually a great feature because it keeps your programs organized and stops you from accidentally overwriting important data.
And what do we do with those numeric variables? Well, we calculate. PHP uses basic arithmetic operators to crunch numbers. You've got your standard addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Plus, there's the modulus operator, which is this surprisingly handy tool for finding the remainder of a division.
Next up, PHP needs to make choices. Conditional statements are essentially the brain of your code. You can use an if statement to execute a block of code only if a certain condition is true. For instance, executing a different greeting depending on the time of day. If it's morning, say good morning, else say good night. And if you have a ton of choices, the switch statement neatly selects one of many code blocks to run, so you don't have to write this huge messy chain of ifs.
Now, the name of the game in programming is efficiency. And loops, they're the ultimate time saver. I mean, why manually write the same line of code over and over? A while loop keeps running a block of code as long as a condition holds true. A for loop runs it an exact specific number of times. This is exactly what allows your programs to do massive amounts of work in literal milliseconds.
All right, stepping up to Section 3, Organizing Data and Functions. We're moving into the toolbox phase of our explainer now, escalating from handling single data points to managing complex lists.
Imagine you want to store a list of cars. You could name them variable 1, 2, and 3. But what if you had not 3 cars, but 300? How on earth would you manage that massive list? You certainly aren't going to sit there typing out 300 separate variables, right?
Well, arrays perfectly solve this problem. An array stores multiple values inside one single variable. You've got indexed arrays, which automatically assign a numeric index, kind of like a numbered list. Then you have associative arrays, which use named keys. Think of them like labeled folders in a filing cabinet, so you can easily look up an age by a person's name. And finally, multidimensional arrays,
which are quite literally arrays containing other arrays. To make our code incredibly reusable, we can create user-defined functions. Think of a function as a reusable recipe. You can pass custom information, we call these arguments, directly into the parentheses, just like we see here with the first name. You write the recipe once and just call it to execute whenever you need it. It is a huge time saver.
Okay, let's move right along to Section 4, Managing Server Files. This is where PHP really flexes its muscles by reading and writing actual physical files located on the server. Handling these files safely requires some strict procedural steps. Step 1. You use fopen to crack open the file. Step 2. You read or write your data using fread or fwrite. But honestly, the most critical part is Step 3. Fclose. You absolutely must close files to free up server resources. You do not want an open file running around on your server eating up memory like a hungry ghost.
But what if you're reading a really massive text file and you have no idea exactly how long it is? This is where the feoff, or end-of-file function, comes in. It's a brilliantly clever little tool that checks if you've hit the bottom of the document. This allows you to safely loop through a file, reading it line by line until the very end without throwing errors.
And now for the climax of our explainer, Section 5, Connecting to MySQL Databases. This is the permanent vault where modern websites store their records, from user profiles to massive product catalogs.
PHP combined with MySQL is incredibly powerful. Now there are two modern ways to connect, MySQI and PDO. MySQI is built specifically and only for MySQL databases. But the beautiful thing about PDO is that it works across 12 different database systems. So if you think you might ever switch your database system down the road, and let's be honest, tech changes incredibly fast, PDO makes that migration process super easy. Let's actually see this all come together in the real world. Here we've got a simple HTML form for a student application. It asks for a student's name, registration number, and marks. Now this form acts as the front door. On its own, it just sits there statically. But the magic happens when the user hits submit. That's when our PHP engine wakes up. And boom! Here is the satisfying payoff. Our PHP code captured the variables from that HTML form, used logic to connect to the server, and permanently injected those records right into our MySQL database table. The screen outputting inserted is our proof that the whole process worked flawlessly. So, the absolutely crucial takeaway from all this is that you now understand the core mechanisms of the web. You've got the engine with PHP syntax, you have the toolbox with logic, arrays, and functions, and you've got the permanent vault with MySQL databases. The web isn't just a collection of static pages anymore. It's alive. So, with all these tools at your disposal, what dynamic application are you going to build next? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy coding!